Recording, Meredith? Because
Got it.
yeah, it is now. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry. You do that for when, we'll post on YouTube later. So if you want to come back and look at the information, or you want to send it to a friend, or people that missed it want to look later, we'll definitely post it on our YouTube channel, Career Services YouTube. Okay. So first I want to talk about how people approach a resume. And a lot of people approach resume like a historic document. They're just like, okay, well, this is me. This is what I've done. This is my experience. This is the jobs I've had. But what I want to talk to today is more talk about as a marketing tool. So a resume doesn't necessarily have to be everything you've ever done. It can be a little bit more like, well, what's important to the employer? We can kind of select that information. Government jobs, they are a little bit more of a historic document, I have to say, especially some of the federal jobs. They really, ones with high security clearance, they do want you to have everything you've ever done on there. But if you're applying for a job in business or something, you don't have to write that. If you had a job, 15 years ago for 3 days, it might not be relevant to what you're applying for, and it might be something that you put on your resume. So I'm going to talk about how to create more of a marketing resume. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the tailor process. I'm going to go for piece to piece about how to do that. But basically, tailoring a resume is to make sure that it's targeted for a specific position or like a specific organization or both. And the reason for that is an employer needs to know what your skills are in relation to the specific job you're applying for. So if you just put a bunch of your great skills down, it might not relate. An example of that, a few years ago, I was helping with a friend with a resume, and she's just a super extroverted communicator. At the time she worked, did a lot of like biotech lab work. And she kept emphasizing all this communication skills and such. But when I read the job description, like she barely got to talk to a person like once a month. So it was really more about report writing, and it was, and her lab skills. And so, the kind of skills that she had on there really didn't pertain to the job so much. She did end up switching professions, but, so I'm going to go back and talk more about that tailoring process. Okay. The very beginning, if you don't already have a resume, or you have a resume and you haven't updated it in a long time, one thing you want to think about is making sure that you write down or have a document somewhere that's everything you've done. And this could be like during the year, I'm supposed to do this every year. I don't always remember, but I try to go back and think about, okay, well, what trainings have I had this year? Have I attended any conferences? Have I done any areas of research that I need to, document? Because the thing is, you forget, especially if you haven't looked at your resume in 5 years, you're going to go back and start write stuff down. You won't even remember those things that you did, right? So having a master document somewhere is going to be really helpful. And that's where you do put all your jobs down, all the different skills you can think of that might pertain to the area of interest that you're going into. Write down your clubs, your organizations, military service, trainings that you've done, awards, class projects are important to keep a portfolio somewhere, figure out what your class projects are, your areas of research, all of that, keep it documented somewhere, because it's going to help when you get to the tailor process, which we'll talk about more. Okay, choosing a format. So I want to talk about a few different formats. Chronological is probably the resume that most people have. And that's that we've talked about, it's actually called reverse chronological. That means you have your oldest experience, or your most recent experience up top, and you work away to older experiences. This includes your education. I don't know why, but a lot of times people flip that. They'll put their AA very first on their resume, and they'll put their bachelor's second, and their master's even below. You don't want to do that, right? If you're working on a master's right now, that's the first thing we want them to see, because it's probably the most relevant. And that's the idea with the reverse chronological, is ability to just tap into what's right away, see the stuff that's most relevant. A functional resume is more of a skill-based resume. These are tricky. And if you haven't done one before and you're thinking about doing one for reasons I'll talk about in a minute, that's a helpful one to maybe sit down with somebody like me, a career counselor, and kind of work on that. But sometimes people do functional resumes when they have a lot of skills in the jobs they've done, but the job titles really don't relate to anything that they're applying for. So they're almost afraid if they put a bunch of jobs down that don't sound anything like what they're applying for, they're afraid that the employer won't even look at their resume. They're just going to close it right away and say, well, we're not looking for a food server. We're not looking for, a hostess at a restaurant. But when you actually look at the skills like multitasking or, ability to, process multiple information, you look at the different skills, those are maybe skills that they really would use at your position. Job changers sometimes will use a functional one. The problem with functional is sometimes they can be confusing to the employer because they're trying to think, well, okay, I see these skills that you got, but I don't understand where you obtained them from. So some people, when they go for a functional resume, they'll do a combination resume, which will have part functional and part chronological. Going back to the federal government resume, you're going to have some kind of chronological resume. And I'll give you some examples of what that looks like in the end, but they really need to know the chronology of what you've done. Again, sometimes they're looking at security checks. They want to look at, every job you've had. So, okay. Well, objective. An objective is often the first thing you see on a resume. And interesting enough, I get some beautiful resumes, but I get the funniest objectives. Okay, here's a popular one. I get a lot of super general objectives, like looking for challenging position in a growing company or organization. Okay, I could have just put that on literally 1 million resumes, right? It was so general. So one thing I say about pretty much everything on your resume, if you can look around your class when we got to sit in classes together, now I guess it would be looking around in your whole Zoom, 40 people on Zoom. If all those people can have the same objective on their resume, you've missed the point of an objective, right? Objective needs to be pretty specific to what you're looking for. So some things that it might have is a position title, a department or area, an industry or product, or also like a set of skills that you're using, maybe utilizing 5 years of customer service experience, utilizing your law and justice degree and your internship at the municipal court. So it might actually be using, a set of skills system that all of a sudden now we're getting really excited to find that in your resume later, right? Kind of give this person a little lead in. For a government resume, it's probably going to be as easy as a job title with a requisition number. Okay, and a lot of times they have these long numbers that go afterwards. This is really helpful because who knows where your resume ends up? Sometimes they end up like different people's desk here and there. And if it doesn't have that title and that requisition number, it could get lost and not to the person that really needs it. So keep that in mind. If you're going to a career fair, so you're going to a career fair and you're saying like, oh, I'm really open, I just want to see what's out there. Then you can, drop the position title. You could drop the department area and maybe just focus on a particular industry you're interested in or product you're interested in, or no objective. I mean, really when it comes down to, if you read your objective and it's not saying much, looking for exciting opportunity in growing fields, you don't need an objective. Wipe it off. You could, because remember, this just first line of your resume after, your name and your, maybe your LinkedIn and your phone number and that sort of stuff. This is going to be the first introduction to you. So you don't want to have something boring or dry or, so here's a social service objective somebody wrote. They were looking for a position as a foster child advocate in health and human services. And they did that little marketing thing where they said, utilizing my 3 years experience in child development. So what they do, they just gave a little like hook, like kind of threw out that rod and said like, hey, you're about to read about those 3 years of experience in child development. So, okay. Some people have like a summary of qualifications or a skill summary at the top of their resume. I don't write these first. I write these later because I like to go in for like the real like the education and experience and all that. And then when I'm done with that, I say, you know what? There's some things that I didn't really get to market. That's a time when I think I need a skill summary. I really need to be able to put people, a lot of like people in technical fields will use skill summaries, or if a position that you're applying for has, real specific skills that you didn't utilize in a specific job, might be a great area. People self-study. I get a lot of accountants that are actually like so great at Excel because they have all these they do Excel projects at their home at home for fun. And so, that could be an area where they put that project down and talked about it a little. Okay, so this was a skill summary for a functional resume. Again, I wouldn't start with a functional resume, but it's something definitely you could move towards if you're thinking that benefits you more. And that's something, again, I can help you with. But so for that position in the foster child advocate, what the student's issue was that she had, and I actually pulled this from a student's resume I worked with. She'd done things like worked at Boys and Girls Club, and she'd been like a camp counselor at YMCA. And she felt like she had done a lot of informal counseling. She'd done a lot of mentoring. She had done even like presentation and teaching, but she didn't have the job titles she felt like would get her noticed. So she created this skills summary. So right off the bat, they could say like, hey, you know what? Camp counselors actually do a lot of counseling. Who do you tell your secrets to when you're 15, huh? Your camp counselor. So of course, even crisis intervention sometimes can happen. So these are some areas that she wanted to sell on her resume. So, okay. Education. What I want to show you with looking at this education is that a lot of people will put just one line about their education. Like seriously, just one line. Okay, you guys have just been working at least 4 years at this, sometimes longer. And one line was just their degree, Central Washington University, maybe, when they're going to obtain the degree, and that's it. Well, I think, there's a lot to say about the education you've had. And some things to think about are even the titles of the classes that you've had are very relevant to what you're applying for. So you could put down 3, maybe up to 5 titles. This person, nonprofit administration. Not everybody in psychology takes nonprofit administration, so they wanted to highlight that class. They had done this person was actually really interested in school on child welfare advocacy. And that's something when they got to research, she got to research her own, pick her own paper research. That's what she did. So now it kind of makes sense why she's applying for this job, right? All 4 years of school, she's been really excited about this subject matter, working with children and helping them in social services. And at one point, this person did a 10-page paper on the effects of teenage pregnancy on school performance. So again, has a deeper knowledge of the subject matter. So think about, and that's going back to your master document. That's why you save all those school projects and break down the trainings you do in school and things like that, because you can really pull those into your resume. Okay. When you're thinking, okay, actually just stop for a second, let you guys ask any questions so far. Does anybody have any questions about the objective or the education part so far?
Meredith, in the chat, there was a question about law school and grad school resumes. Would they look any differently? And I can address that. No, they should look exactly like this layout that you're looking at. One of the reasons is because law schools are often looking for those skills and accomplishments and volunteer, extracurricular activities of, a student association and clubs, because they're looking to see if you're a good fit into that law school for them. Because a lot of law schools now have begun to specialize, as well as grad schools too. So if it's a master's. So I thought I would answer that one for you, Meredith.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I have a slide on it too. So this person was very fortuitous in their note because I was going to talk about curriculum vitae, CVs that are often like, yeah, so, and applying for grad school. So, okay. When you're listing your experience, you want to think about it in 3 different ways. So this could be a job, this could be a volunteer experience, this could be an internship. You want to think about the duties that you had. You want to think about the skills that you learned, and you want to think about your accomplishments, things that you accomplished in this position. Because any one of these 3 would figure out what pertains most. So for example, I think a lot of basic resumes, when I look at with students, their first read, they're really duty heavy. And they'll say like, they write down like, okay, so say I was a barista, I opened and closed the store, I washed the tables and I stocked the cups and, I served customers and they're writing down like everything they did there, right? And so now they're applying for something else. They're applying for child welfare advocate. And so it might be that the skills relate more, the customer service, the conflict resolution, the ability to multitask, or things like that. And the accomplishments, anytime you do something great in a job, it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to bring that excellence to any position. So they look at say and say, hey, you know what? When I was at Starbucks, I actually created a different order of the way that we do the lines, and it ended up making things way more efficient. We were able to serve a lot more customers per hour. That was something that they really changed. Something at their work, they made a big difference. So think of it that way. I'm going to go back to talk about what we talked about last. Well, Christine talked about last time, the KSAs, knowledge, skills, abilities. When you think about your experience, you want to think about those areas, your knowledge, skills, and abilities, because that, again, is going to be more of the transferable skills that you're bringing to a position. Okay, and this just shows sort of a basic way somebody might put down their experience, just kind of where it is, job titles, and then they're going to go into the description with, the things that are most transferable to the job that they're applying. So, okay. So in resume language, I'd say good writers have a harder time making resumes and an easier time making cover letters. So I'd say my engineer students, my accountants do great resumes because they don't want to bother explaining this or that. They go straight to the action word, which is typically how resumes are written. Again, I'm going to show you some examples at the end of federal resumes where it's going to be wordier. It's going to hit more of those of explaining what you have to do in KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities, is really explaining what you did, what you accomplished, how it pertains. But in general, resume language, you can just start with those action verbs. What I want you to think about when you're writing down your experience and selling it is thinking about the weight of that action verb. So sometimes I'll have that people put things like I assisted or helped with something, and that'll be the first bullet point I see. And then 6 bullet points down, they'll talk about what they supervised or what they managed or what they spearheaded, the things that they were had a lot of control over, a lot of responsibility. So when you think about what bullet point you're going to put first and second and third, don't just write them down randomly. Think about, okay, this is the most, I want the reader to keep reading. And if I start my first 2 bullet points have nothing to do with the job that I'm applying for, I've lost them already, right? They're already getting tired reading my resume and so think about the order and move it around to what's most important. Okay, so using numbers, use them when they're effective. So, you know, I think I last time talked about this with cover letters too. So for example, a student tells me, oh, I managed a staff. And I say, a staff of what? Staff of 2. We can just keep it at managed a staff, right? But all of a sudden you manage a staff of 12. That's a lot of people to manage. So all of a sudden those numbers really do make sense. So numbers, dollar signs, percentages, think about that. And that goes back to the accomplishment piece that I talked about under the job description. So, okay. And then think about the results, also known as accomplishments, right? So of what you did in your job, what were the final results, or in the internship, or in the volunteer? So, you know, again, like things, sometimes people think about like, well, I did have employee of the month, but it was only at Starbucks. I'm like, are you kidding me? If you're gonna be employee of the month at Starbucks, you're going to be employee month at DSHS, you know, you're going to rise to the occasion to wherever you go. So they love to see those awards. You know, any kind of school recognition that you've had, you know, write those down and sell those. Those do, they mean something. Okay, so results and accomplishments, similar, right? So, okay. Other categories can also be sort of a skills list. And this is where we go down and say like, you know what, I looked at my resume and I didn't really have a place to put, I had a lot of military training where I did a lot of leadership and it wasn't reflected anywhere under my experience. Okay, well, maybe you want to create a category for it. You know, professional associations, oh, you know, or I've clubs, you know, I've been involved in a lot of clubs and, you know, held office there. And if you can't find another place for it, you can create other categories on your resume. Okay. So now that you've created this master document, and it might be 3 pages, which if you're applying to the federal government is not a problem at all. In fact, there's a lot of places, like for example, Boeing also is a lot more about keywords, and they actually have like an electronic keyword counter. So a 3-page resume is not a big deal. You're actually just cutting and pasting into text box anyway. And so the more keywords you have, the better. But if you're going and walking into a career fair and you're presenting your resume to Amazon, that's a different deal. You don't want to have a 3-page resume because that recruiter is going to be like, are you kidding me? I have to look at 1,000 resumes in the next 3 hours. You know, I need to know your most relevant experience. I need to know what relates to us. So that's when you're really going to go and look at what you're applying for, the types of jobs, the types of skills they're looking for, and really pull those off your master document and make sure that they're presented at least in the first page of your resume. So, okay. So somebody had talked about graduate school, law school, and maybe some of you have heard, sometimes people come to me and they're like, okay, they don't want a resume. They want a curriculum vitae, or they'll say CV for short. And there's like, how do you know what that is? Okay, well, that is a lot like a government resume, and that you want everything on there. So it's really going to be a lot of your master document. So I bet you if we looked at Professor Henderson's resume, I'm guessing it's 4 pages. I don't know how many.
It is 5 pages.
5 pages.
Yes.
So because she's going to have her presentations on there, she's going to have all the classes she's taught, she's going to have the areas of research she's done, you know, she's going to have it all on there. And in academia, that's what you do. So I guess the big thing is just some people are saying, okay, 1 minute you're talking about this 1-page document, and the next minute you're talking about this 5-page document, right? It depends on the industry. And if you're confused about that, ask us, you know, ask me, ask Professor Henderson, we'll probably know the field to say like, yeah, you're going to want one of those long resumes. You're going to want a CV. You're going to want, or no, you're going to really need this, really precise marketing document for this specific position. So, okay. So these are some areas we just talked about what a CV might include. Areas of research, your teaching experience, publications, most professors are writing articles and they're getting, the publications, and now you get to just put your URL for where it's posted, and so they can find and read your publications and articles and areas of research. Professional associations, and at this point you might be a student member, but great. These are great things to put to show that you're actively engaged in the area, that you're heading to or towards. Okay, so in the end, effective resume will reveal your individual strengths and skills. So it's not just going to be your work history. And that's true even in a long federal resume, is that it's not just going to be a bunch of duties. It is going back to that knowledge, skills, and abilities. They really want to know, like, okay, it's not just what you did, but what your potential is, what kind of skills you used in that position. So you just really want to make sure that that's reflected in there. Next thing I would say is, like, when you look at your resume, does it head in the direction you want to go, not where you've been? And that's true for so many of us, right? When we job change, or I spent like 8 years getting through my undergraduate, so I had all these different jobs. But when I looked at those jobs, they were areas that I did just for money, to pay my rent, to get through school. But it wasn't about the direction I wanted to go. And it wasn't about introducing myself as a professional that I want them to see me as. So you want to kind of focus on that and say, does this look like a resume that's in? So if I want to work in the court system, does this reflect skills that I would use in the court system? Not talking about my last 5 restaurant jobs, and just make sure that it translates and summarizes your most important assets for the employers. I'm going to go back to those KSAs. If you go through that process, you're going to know how to translate and summarize your important, your important skills that the employers are looking for. Okay. I want to show you a couple examples, and I included, I found some information. Just the government, actually, it may seem a little daunting when you're applying for the government. It's hard to believe, but they actually do want you to work there.
No, it does not daunting at all. It just takes 5-6 hours per hour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not daunting.
But the nice thing is, once you've gone through this process once, you're going to be so much faster the next time you apply and the time you apply after that. I use this example in my last job where I ended up working at Central Washington University. My first, I remember spending like 3 hours on one cover letter. Yes, 3 hours. Because I'm a career counselor, it had to be good, right? If I write a cover letter, it's not good. How am I supposed to help you guys, right? So you have to spend a lot of time on them. But what happens is you start to get similar skills. So if you're applying for federal jobs, and you might apply in one area, you might be interested in security work or something. And you're going to have a job that might be more towards that. And then you're also really interested in social services. So those resumes are different, right? Skill wise. But you're going to start seeing the same things on similar jobs. So don't worry, that 6-hour process, you're not going to do it every time, right? You're going to save all that stuff. You're going to have all your KSAs written somewhere, so you're going to be able to really pull that information. So, okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of these links. So let's go to, okay, here's one. Okay, so some of these links these are actually from USA Jobs. They put sample resumes and they go in and talk about what exactly they want in here. It's long, right? Like when you look at this, See, it even says indicate the position, including announcement number, right? When I talked about that requisition number, that's where you'd have that in the objective. So this specific example, what I really liked is they went in under experience and they provided a good example, a better example, and the best example. And when they came down to the best example, it was about creating powerful bullet points. And they're specific and they use numbers and they give a great sense of what the student did, or the employer, what they did, what they accomplished, and what the results were. So let's go to another one.
A little bit there. You don't have to pull it back up, Meredy, but for everybody, they say, well, I don't have all that experience, that resume that has all the, maybe this employee was a federal employee before, state or somewhere. No, you do, because one good thing about state and federal and county governments and city governments also nonprofits and social services, count your academic experience as experience. So you must know that, yes, you do have that. And that's why Meredy said in the very beginning that you need to be saving those papers you write. You need to be saving your presentations. You need to be keeping that list of everything that you did in the quarter, because it's going to come back around, I guarantee you. You might not think it's applicable, but then you get into looking at those jobs and you're like, yes, I did do that. Yes, I did write a memorandum. Yes, I did write a policy analysis. So they count it as experience. So keep that stuff. I didn't mean to interrupt, Meredy. Thank you.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, that's, and I think so many students really discount all the things that they've been doing, so many years and so much hard work in school. I mean, you are prepared to be this professional. You've been studying this stuff. So, okay. I'm sorry, I'm just looking under all my different screens open. Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I might have lost all my. There we go. Did that just go to USA Jobs? Did I? Great. Perfect.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, good. Okay. Sometimes you have to hit screen share separately, so make sure it did. Okay. So USA Jobs actually does like a step-by-step piece of what exactly to include in your resume. So if you're applying for a federal position, again, they do really want you to, to know how to apply. And again, it comes to those points that they're giving you. When you have so many applicants, it's a way to make it easier on them to figure out, okay, do you meet the requirements? So putting all that hard work in of, sectioning out your knowledge, your skills, and your abilities, it's exactly, but that's what they're asking for in here. So yeah, so when I look through here, they talk a lot about what I talked about, using volunteer on their organizations, internships, customizing or tailoring your resume. It talks about that, but lots of great information on the government sites, how to be specific to them. So questions?
I'll just add, well, maybe some of the students have questions here. With that format, oftentimes, let's say, all things being equal, right? Meredy and I both applied for the same job. I turned in a resume that didn't really follow what they're asking for, but Meredy did. They're going to choose Meredy because it shows that Meredy actually read how to apply for a job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also comes down to the number scales. I mean, most of these, and we do it at Central too. I'm on a hiring committee right now where when we look at all, and sometimes they give us a pile of resumes. I mean, there's like 50 you have to go through. And the person that makes the easiest on us, and we have to prove to get that person to the next part interviews, we have to prove that they have the qualifications. So if we're going in and we have to create these number scales, so on a scale from 1 to 5, how qualified are they in working with diverse student body? And so the person who sections out really talks about how they've done that in the past. It's the person that's going to be easiest for me to just rate 5 and move on. So.
And I will also say that goes for law school and grad school too. Very competitive, just like applying for these jobs, super competitive. If there is a way that you can tailor towards that law school and really pay attention to that mission of that law school, or pay attention to that grad school's mission, and tailor your resume, I guarantee you're going to get picked over someone that didn't take the time to look at that mission and the objectives of that law school to see if you're a good fit, because there's a committee of people reading this stuff, right? You might think it's just, well, we're all uploading into, these portals. And yes, the initial pick is probably keywords via computer, but after that, it ends up in committees and groups of people rating. So yeah.
Open for questions. Well, if there are any more questions on the resume, oh yeah, good one. How important is GPA when applying to law school? Christine, do you want to take that one?
You bet. Yes, it depends on the law school, but GPA is very important. It's one of the factors that even grad school. What you, again, you want to look at that law school and their application requirements, right? You just don't randomly and arbitrarily apply to that law school. Let's just say if they say, we accept people with undergrad GPAs of 2.8 to 4 point, and you have a 2.7, do not apply. Don't apply. So yes, you want to make sure that you go to those law school websites, understand the mission, the objective, the admission requirements, and they're all there. It takes time, everyone. You must research, regardless if that is, master's program, applying at federal jobs, or law school. You must understand the basics of where you're applying, right? So if it's job, that's knowledge, skills, and abilities, or for internship, knowledge, skills, and abilities. For law school, you need to understand the objective, the mission, the requirements, and same applies to grad school.
I think Sydney has a question.
Yeah, I just had a quick question in regard to kind of like going off the GPA question. I was told that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm actually not quite sure, that the personal statement was a good place to kind of explain why your GPA might not be the best, or other kind of like factors, kind of like explaining yourself a little bit, just because I know for my community college, I think I had like a 2.9, but I have a 3.9 at Central, just because I've been a lot more focused on school, and I know that they combine transcripts, so they're not going to see individual or like two separate GPAs. So it's like a personal statement, a good place to say, this is why I have like a 3.2 or a 3.3. Like it doesn't really reflect, like the type of student I am now, or.
So Sydney, absolutely, that would be the place to address it, but be very, very careful with that. And boy, I would have somebody, review that. I would have a few people reviewing that before you submit it, career services, a couple people in career services, and a couple professors. I would be very careful with the way you state that, because yes, you can in the letter of intent, right? But there's good wording to do that with, right? You just don't want to say, well, you know, I improved in a year or 2 years at Central, now carrying a 3.9, but 2 years prior to that, you know, you want to choose some good words.
Okay.
Right?
I have
Yeah.
like my draft, and I'm signed up to talk to like the writing center, and I've made an appointment with career services because I wanted to like get that looked at several times, because I know that there's probably a much better way to word it. So
Yes. Yeah, you want to acknowledge for sure, because like you said, it's all combined together, and they only see one. They don't just see Central, because that's a bachelor's degree and that's what they're interested in. You can't go to law school without a bachelor's degree. So yeah, it's all combined together. So be very careful, and good job, Sydney, for having numerous people take a look at that before you submit it. That's another thing that I'll just recommend here too. You should have the writing center, career services, a couple set of eyes with professors with any of this stuff. Please just don't go submitting, because the likelihood of success by yourself diminishes just a bit, right? I'm not saying you can't handle it. It's just good to have others take a look.
I want to talk about GPA in general for a minute, and I'm not, and this isn't when you're applying for law school. So, okay, there are jobs that are going to require you to put your GPA on, or they're going to ask. This is common with internship programs. Maybe it's the FBI presidential, I forgot what it's called, but it's an internship where you actually have to have like 3.5 or above. So they're going to ask requirements. But hey, not all jobs require a specific GPA, right? And so, I mean, some of us haven't always had, you know, awesome GPAs, right? Because as Sydney said, other things in your life, right? I mean, sometimes I talk to students and they're like, I worked 40 hours a week. I was caring for sick family members, you know, whatever. They have a lot on their plates. So I would say if it's a job, if you don't have a great GPA, or if you have, you know, maybe like an under a 3 and they don't ask you for your GPA, you do not have to put it. And that's where we separate this whole chronological resume as a historic document to a resume as a marketing tool. And that sometimes it's not reflective. Or let's say they don't require it and you have a great CWU GPA, but your community college GPA was not great. Don't put your community college GPA on. So if they don't ask for it, you know, and especially with, you know, business, you don't have to put it.
So Meredith, we have several questions here. The next one, and I think would be good because I think you might know a little bit more about this than I do. I do know that it depends, but can international students work or intern at public institutions like law enforcement with CPT or OPT?
Yeah, so super dependent. So if you take like a state agency, like a police officer, no. So you have to be a US citizen, and there's some jobs that just require that. But say you're going to be, it could be a private security officer. Well, actually, a county student used to be a security officer for Bill Gates, right? So, you know, there are positions where you can do certain law enforcement, but it just depends on the agency. Some require that you have to be a US citizen too. And they'll say that right up. I mean, it will be right there on their website. I mean, they don't want you to waste your time if you can't, if you're not eligible, they don't want you to have to put all that work in.
Thank you, Meredith. The next one is, does class rank matter for either further schooling or job applications? If it does, how can we find out what your class rank is? I think, are you talking whether you were in 5%, top 10%, top 25%? Is that the question there? Okay. Your class ranking, I believe you can figure out where you're standing via the registrar's office. I've never asked the question, but you can always use those cum laude, summa cum laude, class rankings, and that gives enough information. But yeah, we could probably figure it out via the registrar's office. Meredith, do you know anything about that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was reading all the other questions. No, I don't. Class rank, I hardly ever see it on a resume. I can't say, I mean, years ago, I kind of remember people doing that. Maybe that was something they actually told you, but I don't even know how you'd find that out, to be honest. And I have not seen it on a resume in years.
I did ask the registrar's office about this actually like a week ago.
Oh.
Just because for one of my law school applications, it does ask what my class rank is, like what percentile am I in? And they told me that they don't actually do class rankings at Central. A little bit frustrating, especially if your application is asking for it. But you can call again, but the person I talked to said that there wasn't really a way to figure that out just because they didn't keep records of that.
Yeah, thanks, Sydney. That's perfect. Thanks.
So was that Sydney? Yeah, and I do know law schools ask for this. They're big on this. So Sydney, was that the registrar's office that you talked to or the register's office?
The first one, I believe.
So registration, so admissions, registration.
Yeah, something like that. Because I had another question about my GPA or the classes that they input every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked them that, and they told me that he doesn't do that. I don't know if he's like the end all be all on the subject. Like there might be someone else to talk to better than him. But when I did talk to someone, I can't remember his name, he did told me that they don't really do that.
Okay. I can have a look at that. So what did you talk to LSAC.org, the good people at Law School Admissions Council, and ask them what happens if your undergrad does not rank you?
I haven't. I can call because I actually have a question on something on my account, so I'm wanting to call tomorrow. However, I don't think a lot of schools probably do it because it was actually an optional input on the application. It wasn't required. It was kind of like supplemental information if you wanted to include it, but I kind of wanted to include it. But yeah, but I'll ask tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, definitely call LSAC and see what they say. Let them know that you do have, you recognize that it is supplemental, but that you were wondering what you could submit if your university does not rank. Okay, would you let me know, Sydney?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an interesting question here, which I want Christine to address, but I also can address part of it. And it's, how is law school beneficial long-term in regards to jobs? And I want to talk about this a little bit just because, so before I worked at Central Washington University, I worked at Seattle University. And as you know, they have a big law school. And one of the things that the law school did is they had their own career services, which made sense. Very specific jobs, the whole internship process in the third year, almost everybody in law school does the internship. But who they would send me were unhappy people that were in law school and that they loved law school. And then they got to their internship and they realized that they actually hated being a lawyer. So love law school, hate being a lawyer. And you would be amazed at how often this happens. And what you want to really think about is, and this includes like whether you're going to graduate school or anything, what is the payoff in the time and money you spend, as opposed to what you want to obtain? I would get a lot of information from a lot of different sources on how beneficial it is. So, I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, well, that's one thing. That's the path you have to take, right? But if you're interested in other types of jobs, you just might look at the cost, the amount of time you'd spend, how much you love it. And one thing I know too is that at the law school at Seattle University, they had a huge list of people that were willing to that were either in law school or had recently graduated that were willing to talk to prospective students and really understand what it's like to be in law school, what their process is, and what it was like for them to get a job afterwards and what they're doing. So those are all things that I would definitely explore, just because it is such a big financial commitment.
So I fully agree with what Meredy just said. And there is a book that I recommend. So those that always meet with me and say, I want to go to law school. There is a book that says, So Do I Really Want to Be a Lawyer? And I recommend it. It's a short read. My master's wasn't all that rigorous, but I'll tell you what, a PhD in law school, you better know what you're doing, right? It's hard. It's a self-learning process a lot. So initiative, you don't want to just go apply because you think you might want. That's not what you do at that level. So there's another one here, Meredith.
I'm glad you asked this question, Alan, because this is super interesting. Is my military experience relevant to law school applications, or is this going to be dependent on the law school I attend? So what I will say, and I'll say this whether you're applying for law school or any type of job, is that a lot of people with military experience really undersell the experience they've had. When they give me their resumes to look at, I look at them and they're all about the duties. And sometimes this is really hard because they're like, okay, I worked in infantry, so it's, how do I sell this? But then when we start talking about, okay, the amazing amount of leadership training you get in the service, the amazing amount of skills that you learn to be on a team. And those are so highly valued in organizations. But you know what? Sometimes that organization doesn't even know that, because the people that are hiring you maybe have never been in the military, so they don't know what it takes. So what I will say is that it's really great to sit down with a career counselor and talk about your experience, because if you just send me your resume, I have to just take it verbatim, like, oh, okay, here's a comma that needs to be put in or that. But when people sit down and talk about their military experience with me, it's easy for me to pull out and say, wait a second, stop there. What do you mean you were a team leader? Okay, wait, tell me about this training. And then we work together to pull those experiences out and to really get them on paper.
I had.
Sorry about that, Alan. Please go ahead.
I just had one quick other question. So does I know for I was applying for federal jobs before I actually decided to go to school. So I know they care about they have the veterans preference, the disability thing, but as far as employment, law school, do they care about the disability rating? Is that a thing to mention? Does that matter? I don't know if they.
It's a good question. I don't know. I have not heard that before, but I could totally be wrong with that. So I don't know.
I didn't know if they had to accept so many people in certain categories,
Sometimes if they get their funding in certain places, that actually might be the case. But I think you would have to probably contact each school case by case. I'd be more likely to be a state funded school or something that would do that. Private probably wouldn't as much, but they would take your experience into account, and just in your essay, just writing a compelling essay with your talking about your military experience would be very compelling to them. So what do you think, Christine?
Fully agree. Yes. And so, Alan, one of the things that you could do if you have ideas for targeted law schools, you would definitely want to look at their admissions. They all put out their admissions and who they accept and the demographics of those. So when you're researching those law schools and you have a couple targeted law schools, you'll see that in their demographics because they do report those demographics. And if they do give, you'll see this mentioned, are you a veteran looking to go to law school? We have special scholarships, things like that. That's going to be on their admissions and their demographics reporting, okay? And Meridy's definitely right. Although SU and Gonzaga are very, very good at reporting their demographics and who they're looking for, that kind of stuff. State-run law schools have a little bit more rigorous law that they must follow. Have a look at those demographics and you might be able to make some assumptions about that law school, whether it's implicitly or kind of explicitly stated. You'll see keywords like a veteran scholarship, and you'll see, in those demographics and the statistics. So you definitely want to, it takes time to do this research, right? And it takes time to look at those law schools. That's why I always recommend that you have a list of 5, okay? Start with 5. And then do the research on those 5. List those pros and cons, read those demographics, read about admissions, read about how and what you need to apply for, okay?
Okay, so does that answer your question, Alan? Can I? Good.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so Daniel, a good question that a lot of students ask. How do you navigate job applications that state they are for entry-level jobs that require multiple years of experience in X job type or field? I know, how frustrating, right? Here they say entry-level. You've worked so hard to get through school and your education. You're just trying to start your career in your career field. And then when you actually like click on the job, it says like 3 years or 5 years experience. And you're thinking like, well, how do I get in? Okay, so a couple things. Sometimes they just don't get applicants that have that many years of experience. So sometimes it's very much worth it to apply anyway. And next thing you want to think about is not just like maybe you haven't worked in that specific field and that specific job, but factor in internships, volunteer experience, all of that counts. And
academic counts.
Yeah. So, and I've just been looking at just with doing these, working on these career development pieces with you guys recently. I've been looking a lot like at jobs in the government and looking at the different things they've been asking for. And I've just been working with a lot of students lately on this. And, there goes down to that thing again, where it says like, a lot of them will say required 2-year degree. And then it might say, and 2 years of experience in field. It said, or equivalent education. So again, like now all of a sudden you have that 4-year degree, or you almost have it. So that counts for those 2 years. So they kind of transpose them. Another thing I want to say, like I was just working with a student and we were, I was helping her apply for some social service jobs. And when I was working on the resume and cover letter with her, I was thinking, oh, she really doesn't have this required experience, but she totally just got an interview because she had a couple key pieces in there that I think that they could not find in other job applicants. So she's already in her final interviews for this position. And I'll tell you, when we were working on it, I was like, okay, let's do our best to prove this. But it felt a little bit like not a sure thing. And she's in her rounds of interviews. So, yeah.
Awesome questions, huh?
Yeah.
So Meredy, if they don't have any other questions, I could share some of those profiles. You did the USA jobs, which is really good. And Adrian just mentioned DSHS. and that every job is like that on DSHS. No, because DSHS is one of them that I was going to talk about today. Meredith emailed out to all of you, and I think it's posted on Career Services now as an internship with DSHS. And that's not requiring, 5 years of experience. So yes, so I think Meredith, if it's okay with you, I could start with that state of Washington one and recommend that please, before you do these profiles and before you submit materials, please, please have Career Services look at them first. Okay, please. Okay, when we do, Meredith, I think we are like, I think everyone that we've done together, we're at 100%, right? We're at 100% because we take the time to really help you all get where you want to go, right? And when we say you have to have that federal resume, we're not making it up. Okay, so let's see. For this internship, I have a question and was going to mention it to you. Okay, what about those who currently have a full-time job but would like to try and take an advantage of this opportunity? So Adrian, I think we would have to see what those requirements are for those hours. I believe they're asking for 40 hours, I think, but we can have a look at that. I don't remember. But Adrian, yeah, we would have to look at that. Okay. So let's just call that one up. Okay. Let me get rid of this. Is that okay, Meredith? Does that sound like a plan right now?
That sounds awesome.
Okay, good. Sorry, I'm getting my screen share here.
Actually, while you're getting your screen share, because I'm looking on the chat, you're cracking me up. That's like, I'll quit my job then. I actually have helped students do that. I was working with, I used to teach a business class, kind of career development class, and I had a student that was just like working in the grocery business and just exhausted, and I could just see it, just like her just struggling to make it there and just being like, oh man, this is just draining me. And we had sat down and worked on a resume and cover letter to work on this internship. And I was like, she's like, well, if I could keep doing this internship, I can make this work and I can make it to the end of this, my education till I graduate and get that full-time job. That's the only way. And so that's what she kept doing. Every quarter we'd sit down and work on it. And then what happened was actually the internship that she applied for loved her so much, they just kept her on until she graduated. So she always had that money coming in. And granted, it wasn't accounting, so they pay pretty well in those internships, but that DSHS internship actually paid. So I don't remember, what did they say, 20 an hour? I can't quite remember what they had on there, but so anyway.
Yeah, I think it is 20 an hour. Yeah, it's not a bad pay, Adrian, just so you know. 2,000 a month. Okay, so it's probably not 20 an hour, but 2,000 stipend. Yes. And
yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. You'll find a lot of the state of Washington, USA jobs, United Nations jobs, those internships that they're offering. What I like to say is if you can make that investment into that extended, I call it the extended federal state government job interview, because they keep you if they like you. It's an extended 3-month job interview. So that is a lot of their pull for full-time workers. So let me share here and move you all out of the way. So this is the internship that Career Services has sent out to all of you, and is willing to spend a good time so we can get you all into a good internship with the state of Washington. So here's what you do. You click on careers, washington.gov. And you have to create a profile here, everyone. And this profile in the state of Washington is very simple. It's just basic information. That is not the case for UNH profiles, and it's not the case for USA Jobs. There's a little bit more that goes to this. But for the state of Washington, you create your account and sign in. So I already have an account, okay? And so you're here and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? Where's that internship? Right? Which often happens. So you get to these and you're like, huh? The United Nations is really hard. Is my screen mopped up? Can I get anywhere? I cannot. Okay, so there we go. So we want to find jobs, right? So find jobs, not at colleges and universities. Where's my search bar? See, I can't even do it. State of job opportunities, state of Washington job opportunities. All right. So we already know that it's DSHS. We already know it says intern, right? So keywords, internship, intern, do a search, okay? So there it was, yes, DSHS internship, okay? You can see that it's multiple locations and throughout our entire state. There are many different things that there are different departments that they're looking for. So you click on this, and this is what it takes to apply, right? Here's that job number that Meredy was saying is ever so important, okay? And here's the details of the internship. Here's these qualifications that they're looking for, okay? You gotta address those in the cover letter and in your resume. So how to apply? Okay, you need to look at this because you see right here, you gotta write an essay, okay? Their cover letter, documentation showing that enrollment. So you have to go to the registrar's office. A chronological resume. You see how Meredy was talking about those different types of resumes. They're looking for a chronological resume. So we need to submit a chronological resume. 3 references. And then there's more at the link, okay? So one thing I can say is once you apply through the state of Washington for one of these, no matter if it's an internship or whatever, your resume stays there. And you have the option when you're applying for different jobs, you have the option of using that resume that's already created. Most of them are that way. So law schools, grad schools, USA Jobs, state of Washington, King County's that way. I don't know on Snohomish County and Pierce County, but their websites, once you've uploaded and applied, City of Seattle's the same way. You can change that resume if you like, or leave it. Do not submit the same cover letter for any job, as Meredy mentioned that on the 12th to you all. Yes, you need to write a cover letter for each one. So these are the things that I'm talking about that you need to be aware of before you go to apply. This is going to take you some time because you want somebody to review this 300 to 500 word essay. And look, there's specifics here. Mission of the department, okay? Unique skills, okay? That chronological resume, the job number, the qualifications. You need to address each one of these qualifications and how you meet them, okay? So that is state of Washington. So maybe some of you want you're looking for a real job. Let's just search a paralegal, okay? So here they are. Torts Division, Social and Health Services, Legal Assistant 4, Legal Assistant 3, Legal Assistant 3, Legal Assistant 3, Legal Assistant 2. Many of you could apply for these jobs already. So let's look at here. So the salary is 52 to 70. And there's that job number. And it's through the state of Washington Attorney General. Duties, qualifications, graduation from accredited 2-year paralegal program plus 2 years experience as a paralegal. Graduation, option 2, see, option 1, option 2. Graduation from an accredited 4-year college and completion of a 9-month paralegal program plus 1 year experience. Option 3, 3 years experience as a paralegal. Option 4, 2 years as a paralegal 1. So you, let's say, are graduating, spring quarter. I would go with this and acknowledge that you're counting your academic experience for this experience as a paralegal, okay? If you are, if you studied, took maybe intro to paralegal studies or some of the other stuff that might qualify you with drafting declarations or locating research, which you've all done. Or maybe you are with the Student Association, National Legal Assistant Student Association, and you've been studying, and you count that as experience too, okay? So there's that one. Anyway, that's how you do it on state of Washington, okay? But please, as Meredy has said, pay attention to how you apply, pay attention to knowledge, skills, and abilities, pay attention to that job number, pay attention to what type of resume they're asking for, and the supplemental materials. You think that when you look at this, like you're going to be able to hit apply, you'll often find, in addition to this, and that is at USA Jobs too. Up pops the supplemental questionnaire, and there's 16 questions that you have to answer about how you meet those qualifications. So you think it's just, apply and here's my address and let me upload my documents. Hardly ever is it like that, okay? After you get through this process, then up pops that supplemental questionnaire. So you want to make sure that when you apply for these jobs, when you have other people looking at the stuff before you submit it. And number 2, you need to set aside at least 2 to 3 hours per application of quiet time when you're ready to submit. Okay. Okay. So that is the state of Washington. Meredy showed you the USA Jobs. Have a look at those materials that she gave you. Follow it very closely. The last one I wanted to show you, how we doing time-wise, Meredy?
We are 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, I could do, the United Nations is very difficult, but I would like to show just that one and that portal too. This one is probably one of the most difficult ones to apply at the United Nations, okay? So I already picked oh no, that's USA Jobs announcement. I'll just share that. Meredy already, here's one, summer 2021, a 1L student honors legal program. Just because it says 1L, and you're like, I'm not first year law yet. Well, guess what? If you scroll down, it says it's available to undergrads too. So read read, read, read. So let me close that. And I gotta move this, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop sharing for just a quick second here. Okay. So I just did a Google search, UN, United Nations careers. Um, and I just want you to know that this is probably, oh, it takes about, let's see, I think somebody spent 6 hours on their profile for the United Nations. Okay. So it has the job openings and it has the link. I have the actual link. So this is just open to everybody. See where it says application process page? You should look at that, okay? You should read everything that is here. Understand when it says welcome to the UN, understand what the UN does before going and just applying. I want to show you what their actual portal looks like, and I will use mine as an example. I think that's the web address. No. Okay. First thing you might think is you look at that and you're like, oh my, right? There's so much here, so much, and it takes a while, right? So let's just say we're going to look for internships, right? I would suggest that maybe temporary job openings. You could do maybe a search on intern. Okay, and each one's a little bit different, right? Maybe internship or intern or temporary, something like that, or, law. So we could just have a look here at level 1, okay? And then it says, what department, where do you want to be? Political, public information, departments, offices. And I think I have, yes, I do for you. I just pulled one that I thought would be relevant to many of you that you could do. But do notice the location is in Geneva, which is the United Nations headquarters, okay? Here is the job description. It is a human rights officer. And the responsibilities, I read through them. Somebody asked, military experience, that's good. Competencies. So the UN does not say knowledge, skills, and abilities and qualifications. They say competencies. Okay, so professionalism, teamwork, organizing, accountability, education. So advanced university, master's degree in law, political science, international relations, or first level university degree in combination with 2 years of qualifying experience may be accepted in lieu of. So there's what Meredy was talking about. Well, it doesn't specify what that qualified experience is. So I would begin to count those competencies. If I worked at Starbucks, I worked as a team. I worked collaboratively. I might not have 2 years as a what is this, a human rights officer, but I am meeting their core competencies via my academic work, my volunteer work, my student club work, my extracurricular activities. Maybe I presented at Source. So that's demonstrating some professionalism, right? That kind of stuff, okay? So that is the three that I think are really most important, Mary D. Don't you think those are the three majors that we should send to USA Jobs, United Nations, State of Washington?
Boy, I mean, if that's their interest area, there's still the city jobs. There's a lot,
Yes.
and there's actually been a lot lately. I'm surprised.
Yes.
I looked under King County the other
Yeah.
day, and King County where it was like nothing. It was like birds were chirping. But then I went on the city site, and there was a lot of jobs that popped up. So
Absolutely. For sure. Merity, when there are jobs like that, so see if you're looking, and we only have about 3 minutes, I want I have student questions here if we can. If you're looking at the city of Seattle and something pops up that you think are good for law and justice students or other majors, where are those posted?
yeah, so a couple different things. We have the Wildcat Career Network. So if you go to the actual career services site, there's an icon on there, and it's called the Wildcat Career Network. And that's for CWU jobs and internships. Well, I'm sorry, it's like not CW. It's for students and alumni to use to look for jobs and internships. But what I will say is that they don't do a great job of keeping up with every great city job or federal job that's on there. So, most of the sites have sort of a career. I mean, even the counties, I know like Snohomish County has, a little card you fill out online, and, it'll send you jobs and internships you're interested in for the next 2 years. So I think it's just best to fill out as many as those possible, because sometimes, especially in government agencies, sometimes it could be so small, the amount of times that it's open. Like I've seen a lot of federal jobs that will open just for 4 days, and you have to get your application in during those dates. So I think that's really important. So I get some of them out and try to send them to relevant majors, but no possible way. I think you guys would all like block me if I sent you all of them, right? You'd be like, oh my gosh, she's emailing me again. So I try to just look at the place it's at, if it's local, and especially, being a Linwood counselor, I try to say like, if there's anything that's, good drivable distance or something, or like, the DSHS one really caught my eye because it was paid. And there were so many different areas that were open. It wasn't just like one specific area. It wasn't just like, oh, case manager. They were recruiting for several different majors and areas. So that seems like that would be particular interest for a lot of different students. So,
Right. And up another question. Is it useful and beneficial to everyone to go to the Career Services Network on their My CWU and fill out that stuff and be aware of that and know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, we have a lot of virtual events right now too. Doing some like employer, kind of networking events that we'll know about the career fairs when they come up, things like that. So yeah, it's great to fill out a profile. It doesn't take long. You can go in there and put your major and your areas of interest, and that way, it doesn't hurt to have these things sent to you. I mean, I am registered a couple third-party recruiters myself, not because I'm looking for a job, but I like to see what's out there. And some of them are really good. Some of them send me, every other day, they'll send me a very relevant, jobs. LinkedIn works great. The more you fill out your profile, the more relevant the jobs will be they send you. If you have just a really thin profile, there's not a lot that their searches can do to try to find a good match for you. But if you did a really good job of filling out your full LinkedIn profile, then they will send you jobs that are relevant to that.
Thank you, Merity. Should we ask for questions for the last, well, we're over a minute.
I was gonna, yeah, one last question if anybody has one, but doesn't look like it. Well, you could always follow up with me. So if you do come up with other questions, a couple of you I've actually noticed already booked an appointment. Smart as we're sitting here.
Nice. That's what I was looking for,
Yes,
Mary.
love it. Yeah, so that's great. That is perfect. That's exactly how. So, but I'm just so glad to be able to, work with you all. And so even if you don't have a burning career issue this week, maybe in a month or in 3 months or 6 months, and I'll still be here. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Meredy. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate the 2 weeks with us and giving us the knowledge and helping us get where we would like to go. And so I know time is valuable, and you really have helped us a lot. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate the collaboration, and it's always fun working with Professor Anderson. Right.
Oh, sure. They're like, yeah, no, we see her too much. Thank you, Meredy.
Right, good night, everyone.
Bye.